The kingdom today is a harsh place for reality. Local swordsmen being forced to work, locals being stripped away from their freedom. The only person who enforces these rules is King Brown, who is making a speech today to inform the kingdom of his new enforcement. He commands that everyone is to work twice as harder, or they'd be held captive for eternity. The king could have easily been arrested if the castles were ever given the correct resources, though the locals are still fearful of the king's leadership. Every local, except for one, Alfonso. Alfonso has made plans for decades of how to arrest the king, though he needed help from Janice and his sister Janice to make this possible, though Raver and his wife Alicia are also making plans to imprison the king, though they await for the right time. Meanwhile, the king ordered his men to bring Alicia to his castle. Alicia presumed he was looking to question her, but in reality, he didn't want nothing more but to keep her captive for his own amusement. In Janice's castle, him and Janice are further enforcing their archery unit on Alfonso's plans, though Alfonso was already prepared to claim the crown. Overhearing this, the king stormed downstairs of his castle in madness, as he claimed to put Alfonso in his paces, and destroy anyone who gets in his way. By the time Alfonso's unit was halfway from the king's castle, the king's men were already awaiting them. As Alfonso looked up in fear, the king's men ordered them to clear out their land, and whoever gets in the way will get executed. Though Alfonso knew that he couldn't defeat horseback warriors, and he knew the king's men were well trained, he still wasn't giving up without a fight. As he proceeded to attack, the Great War began. Meanwhile, Raver rescued Alicia from the king's castle. The Great War ended short, as the king's men were all over the battlefield. As the king ensured it was over, indicating that he had won. While Alfonso begged for forgiveness and mercy, the king proceeded to execute him permanently. Ever since that devastating day, the kingdom didn't appear to be safe for any locals. Janice wanted nothing but justice for Alfonso's death. In Raver's castle, Alicia wrote a letter, and the letter was sent out to every castle in the kingdom, ensuring that the kingdom was no longer a safe place for castles, and that the king is endangering our lives. We need to put a stop to him before he gets out of hand. The letter continues to say that if any castles still have swordsmen or additional warriors, then we need to act out before it's too late. Though the castles of the kingdom agreed with the letter, nobody was willing to go forward with the task, as they were too afraid of the king. Raver was the only warrior who was eager to do the task. However, Janice's archery unit had gotten there first. They surrounded the king, and informed him that he was too dangerous for the kingdom. Instead of imprisoning him, they had to execute him. Raver got his unit together, as he was ready to be this world's savior and claim the crown, though when he had gotten there, the king was already gone. After seeing this, Raver wanted nothing more but revenge, for whoever did this, Raver wanted to be king. He wanted to claim the crown for himself, though he promises that he will find whoever did this, and kill them, forever. The kingdom today is far more healthier than before, though the title of the crown has passed on to King Joseph. Now that Joseph is king, he informs that King Brown's enforcements were completely unnecessary, and that every claim he made to the kingdom is now suspended, though his death was a necessary loss. King Joseph ensures that from this day forward, we shall have peace and loyalship in the kingdom, he informs that we also now have a queen. In the king's castle, Queen Joseph has named Janice, the kingdom's protector, for saving the kingdom from King Brown. Back at Raver's castle, Raver was not familiar with Janice, though he knew he had a sister, called Janice. He held Janice prisoner, knowing that Janice would come for her, as the king was informed by his men that Janice had left the castle, indicating that a huge battle was going to take place. Raver was proven to be correct, as he knew Janice couldn't resist. As Janice commanded him to release Janice at once, Raver refused, and the archery battle began. While the battle was proceeding, the king's men came to stop it, as they ordered Raver to get back to his own castle, and informed Janice that the king wishes to see him at once. At the king's castle, King Joseph ensures that he does not need any more disturbances within the kingdom, as he had already interfered once more. Janice ensures that he will protect the kingdom at all costs. As Raver's battle with Janice did not go according to plan, he proceeded to execute Janice for good. The following day, the queen spoke out against Raver and Alicia, informing that they are now a threat to the kingdom, and that they need to be stopped. Overhearing the queen's speech, Raver had created poison from Alicia's experiments to wipe out the entire kingdom, as the castles had mistaken it for wine. The poison had killed thousands of innocents without them even realizing. The poison would eventually reach the king's castle, as he drank it, killing him instantly. The following day, Janice made a speech to inform that Raver's vengeance had killed the king, and that Raver had gone too far. However, Alicia was sent to murder the queen that very same day, as the queen was vulnerable. As more and more people were dying, the queen's brother made an appearance, re-ensuring that he will put a stop to Raver and Alicia himself. The kingdom now seems to be in a healthier state, as the queen's brother William states that the queen's murder was fatal. He insists in giving the title of the crown to King Lee, as Lee ensures that King Joseph's loss was a dreadful accident caused by Raver and Alicia, and in order to bring peace to the kingdom, they are to be separated. As Raver attempted to hold Janice prisoner, re-ensuring that he will meet the same fate as Janice, as Raver proceeded to execute him. As King Lee held Alicia responsible for the queen's death, William insisted of handling the situation himself, as Alicia was a supposed threat to the kingdom. William proceeded to further execute her for the crimes that she committed. In Raver's castle, Raver did not take this execution lightly, as he got his unit together and attempted to murder the king. Though the king's men were overpowered, as Raver ensured that his sister was in fact coming to rescue him, though King Lee had already known and was preparing for this moment all along. As Raver's sister, Isabel, had arrived with her unit, as she demanded King Lee to release her brother, or she will burn down the entire kingdom, though King Lee ensures that Raver is being held prisoner for the crimes he's committed. As the mighty war began, After a long and painful battle, Isabel had claimed the victory, as her unit held the king in place, as she rescued Raver from the castle, ensuring that father is waiting. Isabel brought Raver to their father's castle, as their father Godwin was awaiting Raver's return, while King Lee informs William that things are escalating, and if the kingdom is to remain safe, we need to destroy the threats right away. As Godwin was instructing Raver and Isabel, King Lee and his men came to stop them. As the battle began within the castle, the king informed Godwin that if he has any last words, then now is the time. As he continues bad-mouthing them, King Lee proceeded to execute him. The following week, King Lee made a speech, informing that he's retiring from the crown's titles, and leaving for another kingdom, as the title of the crown will be passed on to his wife, as queen, next month. As the king says his farewells, the kingdom remains a loyalty-safe place, a place where the locals are free, as Lord William will be in charge in the meantime, for the supposed future.